Renting in Georgia looks easy until you realize your budget and your lifestyle are in a toxic relationship. One wants peace, the other wants nightlife, and both of them hate your bank account. Atlanta will tempt you, Savannah will seduce you, and then some random city you've never considered will quietly outsmart both. This list isn't about what looks good on Zillow. It's about where your money actually survives the month, where your rent makes sense, and where your life doesn't feel like a downgrade. We're counting down from the places that almost work to the one that gets it dangerously right. Number 10, Macon, Georgia. Macon feels like the kind of place your wallet writes a thank you note to. You look at the rent, and for a second, you think it's a typo. Around $1,000 a month on average, which in 2026 feels like someone forgot to update the price after inflation happened. Your bank account finally exhales like it just got out of a stressful relationship. The city itself leans into this slow, almost cinematic charm. Historic homes that look like they've seen things. Streets that don't rush you. You walk into downtown, and instead of chaos, you get music history, brick buildings, and people who actually make eye contact. It feels like time isn't gone, it just moved here. Then reality taps your shoulder. The job market isn't exactly sprinting. Unemployment has hovered around the low 4% range, which isn't terrible, but it's not elite either. So while your rent is behaving, your opportunities might take their time showing up. But here's the strange part. Macon works if you know what you're doing. If your income is stable, if you're remote, or if you just want life to stop feeling like a monthly financial emergency, this place suddenly makes sense. You're not here for hype. You're here because your rent doesn't wake up every morning trying to fight you. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it just quietly lets you live. Number 9, Warner Robins, Georgia. Warner Robins is what happens when a city builds its personality around stability and just commits to it. Rent averages around $997, which already sounds like a peaceful life decision. But the real story isn't the price, it's what's holding the whole place up. Robins Air Force Base is sitting right there like a financial bodyguard, supporting over 22,000 jobs and pumping billions into the local economy. That means this isn't one of those cheap but confusing cities. This is cheap with structure, cheap with purpose, cheap with a paycheck somewhere in the background. Driving through Warner Robins feels like everything is fine. Not chaotic, not overwhelming, just fine in a way that slowly grows on you. Neighborhoods feel steady, roads behave. Life doesn't try to surprise you unless it's your electricity bill in August. And that's the trade. You're not getting a city that's trying to impress Instagram. You're getting one that's trying to survive the month with you. Entertainment exists, but it's not screaming for your attention. Nightlife is more, let's grab food and go home than let's ruin tomorrow. But if your goal is simple, if you want rent under control and a job ecosystem that doesn't collapse randomly, Warner Robins becomes dangerously logical. It's the kind of place where nothing is exciting, and that's exactly why it works. Number 8, Columbus, Georgia. Columbus is one of those cities that sneaks up on you. You come for the rent, which sits around $1,050, thinking you're about to sacrifice your entire personality just to save money. Then suddenly, you're walking along a 15-mile river walk, wondering when your life got this peaceful. The Chattahoochee River runs through the city like it's trying to show off. There's kayaking, trails, long walks that turn into longer thoughts. It's the kind of place where your stress slowly forgets your address. And somehow, all of this exists in a city where your rent isn't actively plotting against you. Then you realize why it works. Fort Moore, formerly Fort Benning, is basically the backbone of everything here, supporting over 120,000 people in different capacities. That kind of presence stabilizes things. It keeps the economy breathing, even when other cities start panicking. But Columbus has its moments. The job market isn't perfect, and the energy isn't always electric. Some days feel calm, other days feel very calm, like your life is buffering just a little. Still, there's something honest about it. You're not overpaying, you're not overreaching, you're just living in a city that gives you space a decent paycheck opportunity, and enough scenery to remind you that life doesn't always have to feel rushed. Number 7. Alpharetta, Georgia. Alpharetta is where your rent starts acting expensive, but also kind of justified. Around $1,600 to $1,700 a month. And suddenly, you're asking questions like, am I thriving or just paying for vibes? But then you look around and the city answers for you. Everything here feels polished. Roads are smooth. Offices look like they were designed by people who enjoy success. Major companies like ADP, Equifax, and Morgan Stanley are quietly running the show, employing thousands of people and making sure paychecks don't feel theoretical. You step into Avalon, and suddenly your simple, let me go outside, turns into a lifestyle experience. Restaurants, lights, music, people dressed like they have their life together. Even if you don't, Alpharetta will temporarily convince you that you do. But this is not a budget city pretending to be affordable. This is a premium suburb that expects you to keep up. The rent reflects it. The coffee reflects it. Even your grocery bill starts acting confident. Yet, for renters who want safety, opportunity, and an environment that feels like it's moving forward instead of sideways, Alpharetta hits differently. You're paying more? Yes. But you're also stepping into a place where things work. Jobs exist. Spaces feel intentional. Life feels organized. It's not cheap. It's not trying to be. It's just quietly saying, if you can afford me, you'll probably understand why. If this list is already making your rent decisions feel like a life crisis in a good way, hit like and subscribe. I'm breaking down where your money survives, where it disappears, and where it actually starts working for you. Number 6. Augusta, Georgia. Augusta is one of those cities that doesn't scream for your attention and then quietly wins you over while you're not paying attention. You come in expecting something basic, maybe even a little boring, and then your rent shows up around $1,100, and suddenly you're listening very carefully, because that number in this economy feels like a polite handshake instead of a financial ambush. The city stretches along the Savannah River like it knows it has nothing to prove. Wide roads, old trees, neighborhoods that look like they've been minding their business for decades. Then you realize Augusta isn't just coasting on calm energy, it's anchored. Healthcare jobs are everywhere. Augusta University alone brings in over 12,000 employees, and Fort Eisenhower sits nearby supporting tens of thousands more. That means this isn't cheap by accident. It's cheap with a backbone. And then Augusta does something unexpected. It relaxes you, not dramatically, not all at once, just slowly. You drive through downtown, past the Riverwalk, maybe sit somewhere too long, and suddenly your life feels less urgent, like your calendar stopped yelling at you. Of course, it's not perfect. Some parts of the city feel like they're still figuring things out. Growth is happening, but not at a sprint. It's more of a steady walk, but for renters who want balance. Something affordable, stable, and quietly improving. Augusta starts to feel like a smart decision you didn't see coming. It's not trying to impress you, it's trying to work, and somehow, that ends up being impressive anyway. Number 5. Roswell, Georgia. Roswell feels like Atlanta's calmer, better-behaved sibling who still gets invited to all the important events. You're close enough to the city to feel its energy, but far enough to avoid its daily chaos. And with average rent around $1,400, it lands in that strange middle ground where your wallet size, but doesn't completely panic. Then you step outside and realize why people keep choosing it. The Chattahoochee River slides through the city like it's part of a lifestyle package. Parks stretch out in ways that make you want to suddenly become the kind of person who owns walking shoes for casual reflection. There's a softness to Roswell, trees everywhere, streets that feel intentional. It's suburban, but not lifeless. And then the food shows up. Nearly 200 independent restaurants, which means your simple plan to just grab something quick turns into a full emotional experience. You start recognizing places. Staff recognize you. Suddenly, you're part of a routine that feels suspiciously healthy, but But Roswell isn't pretending to be cheap. It's not here to save you money. It's here to give you a version of life that feels a little more controlled, a little more peaceful, a little more put together than Atlanta's fast-paced energy. That's the deal. You pay more than the budget cities, but in return, you get quiet mornings, beautiful surroundings, and a life that doesn't feel like it's sprinting past you. Roswell doesn't shout. It just gently convinces you to stay. Number 4, Sandy Springs, Georgia. Sandy Springs is what happens when someone takes Atlanta, removes just enough chaos, and then adds a little polish on top. You're right next to the city, but somehow your life feels more organized. Rent averages around $1,500, which sounds like it's about to hurt. But then you realize what you're getting. You wake up, step outside, and instead of noise punching you in the face, you get space. Parks everywhere. Over 950 acres of green space, more than 20 miles of river shoreline, and just enough nature to trick you into thinking you've become a balanced human being. You haven't, but Sandy Springs will make it look like you have. Then there's the convenience. MARTA runs through here, which means Atlanta isn't a stressful drive away. It's a manageable commute. You can work in the city, come home to calm, and pretend you've figured out life better than everyone else. But the real magic is how normal everything feels. Grocery stores are easy, apartments are modern, roads behave, nothing feels like it's trying too hard, and nothing feels neglected either. It's that rare middle space where things just function. Of course, you're paying for that balance. This isn't budget living. This is strategic living, the kind where your rent is higher, but your daily stress is lower. Sandy Springs doesn't overwhelm you. It just quietly improves your life in small ways until you realize you're actually comfortable, and that's a dangerous feeling to get used to. Number 3, Athens, Georgia. Athens is the kind of city that makes you question your life choices, in a good way. You show up thinking you're just saving money, and then suddenly you're out on a Tuesday night listening to live music, eating something way too good for the price, and wondering how your rent is only around $1,180. It feels suspicious, like you've discovered a loophole the rest of the country is pretending not to see. The heartbeat of Athens is the University of Georgia, and that heartbeat is loud. Over 43,000 students moving through the city means energy never really clocks out. Coffee shops don't feel like waiting rooms. Streets don't feel empty. There's always something happening, even when you didn't plan for anything to happen. And somehow, that constant movement makes life feel lighter. Then there's the charm that sneaks up on you. Historic buildings, tree-lined streets, music venues that have seen legends pass through. You walk into a place like the 40 Watt Club and realize this city has stories stacked on top of stories. It's not trying to impress you, it just casually does. But here's the thing, Athens is not for everyone. That youthful energy can feel like you accidentally enrolled in college again without permission. Weekends get loud. Parking gets competitive. And at some point, you'll ask yourself why there are so many people awake at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday. Still, for renters who want affordability without boredom, Athens feels like a cheat code. Your money stretches, your social life upgrades, and your days stop feeling repetitive. It's not just a place to rent, it's a place where life feels like it's happening around you, constantly. Number 2, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah doesn't just welcome you, it pulls you in like it has plans for you. You arrive thinking you're here to find an apartment, and suddenly you're walking under oak trees draped in Spanish moss, staring at buildings that look like they belong in a movie, and questioning why your life wasn't already here. Then your rent hits around $1,500, and somehow, it still feels like a fair deal. This city is beautiful in a way that feels almost aggressive. 23 historic squares spread across downtown like little pockets of calm, each one with its own personality. You're not just walking from point A to point B, you're wandering, you're pausing, you're accidentally taking longer routes because everything looks like it deserves attention. And yet, This isn't just a postcard pretending to be a city. The Port of Savannah is one of the busiest in the country, moving millions of containers every year, which means jobs, movement, and real economic life humming beneath all that charm. Tourism adds another layer, bringing in people, money, and a constant sense that something is always happening. Then comes the moment you realize what living here actually feels like. Slower mornings, warmer evenings, conversations that stretch longer than planned. Life doesn't rush you in Savannah. It almost insists that you slow down. Of course, popularity has a cost. Demand is high. Some areas fill up fast. And if you're not paying attention, you might find yourself competing for the same beautiful apartment as someone who fell in love with the city 10 minutes before you did. But if you can get in, Savannah doesn't just give you a place to live, it gives you a lifestyle that feels like you finally chose the right setting for your life. Number 1, Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is where your rent gets serious, but so does everything else. You're looking at around $1,600 on average, and at first, it feels like the city is testing you. Like it's asking, are you sure you're ready for this? Then you step into it, and you realize why it costs what it costs. This is the engine of Georgia. Over 3 million jobs across the metro, thousands of apartments, literally over 20,000 listings at any given time. Opportunities don't just exist here, they compete with each other. You're not waiting for something to happen. You're choosing between things that are already happening. And then Atlanta shows you its personality. Neighborhoods that feel like different cities stitched together, Midtown with its skyline energy, Buckhead with its polished confidence, the Beltline wrapping through it all like a social experiment where everyone decided to go outside at the same time. You can walk, bike, eat, meet people, and accidentally build a life just by leaving your apartment. But Atlanta doesn't pretend to be easy. Traffic will test your patience, rent will test your discipline, and at some point, you will question your decisions while sitting on a highway that hasn't moved in 6 minutes. Still, it's hard to argue with what you get in return. Jobs, culture, nightlife, diversity, and options. So many options. Atlanta doesn't limit you, it expands you, whether you're ready or not. That's why it sits at number 1. Not because it's the cheapest, but because it gives renters the one thing most cities can't: the feeling that your life can actually grow here. If one of these cities just changed your entire rental plan, hit like and subscribe. This channel breaks down where your money actually works. Now, tell me, where are you moving and which city are you avoiding like rent is due tomorrow?